The summer sun hung high over the pristine lawns of the prestigious Green Valley Tennis Club, where laughter, wealth, and rivalry often met on freshly lined courts. It was the annual charity tournament hosted by Brightstone Enterprises, an event that gathered CEOs, celebrities, and the city's elite under one glamorous banner. But among the suits and silk dresses, one man stood out, not because of his clothes, but because of how out of place he seemed. Ethan Cole, the company's janitor, stood quietly at the edge of the court, mop handle in hand, sweat glistening on his neck. To everyone there, he was invisible, except for one person, Victoria Hayes, the young and fiercely confident CEO who ruled the company with precision, charm, and an untouchable ego. Victoria was as admired as she was feared. She was 30, stunning, and undefeated on the tennis court, where she often boasted that no man, employee or rival, had ever beaten her. That afternoon, after easily defeating one of her top executives in a lopsided match, she smirked and twirled her racket. "Is there anyone left who can challenge me?" she said, her voice carrying across the audience of laughing investors and employees. "Anyone brave enough to try?" The crowd chuckled, whispering, "No one's that foolish." That's when Ethan accidentally dropped a tennis ball he'd been cleaning from the sidelines. It rolled onto the court, stopping at Victoria's feet. She looked up sharply. Their eyes met, hers amused, his calm and steady. "Careful there," she said mockingly. "You almost interrupted greatness." Ethan smiled faintly. "Sorry, ma'am," he said softly, his voice low but clear. "Didn't mean to mess up your game." Victoria tilted her head, a teasing spark lighting her eyes. "You play?" she asked. Ethan shrugged. "A little. Used to." The words were humble, but there was something in his tone, something that didn't sound like bluff or flattery. The crowd laughed. "The janitor plays tennis?" One man snorted. Victoria, sensing entertainment, grinned wickedly. "Oh, really? Tell you what, Mr. Janitor," she said, her voice laced with challenge. "Beat me in a match, just one set, and I'll give you anything you want." She paused, then added with a smirk, "Even marry you if you win." The audience erupted in laughter. "She's joking!" someone shouted. "He doesn't even own a racket." But Ethan just looked at her, unflinching. "All right," he said quietly. "You're on. If you believe in second chances, hidden talents, and the strength of humility, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Because sometimes, the quiet ones are the ones who shock the world." The next few minutes felt surreal. Someone handed Ethan an old practice racket. He tested the strings gently as if they were old friends. His uniform was dusty, his sneakers worn thin, but when he stepped onto the court, his movements carried a strange familiarity, the grace of someone who'd lived and breathed this game long before anyone watching had noticed him. The crowd watched with smirks and folded arms. Victoria served first, fast, sharp, professional. The ball streaked through the air like lightning. But before it could bounce twice, Ethan moved, quick as a whisper, and returned it with effortless precision, the ball landing just inside the baseline. The laughter stopped. The next serve came faster, another return, then another. Within minutes, murmurs rippled through the audience. Victoria's confident smirk began to fade as Ethan's quiet mastery unfolded like a revelation. His movements were smooth, instinctive, disciplined, like muscle memory honed over years. He wasn't just keeping up with her. He was reading her every move. By the fourth game, sweat beaded on Victoria's forehead. By the sixth, the score was tied. People began to whisper, "Who is he? That form, it's professional." Even the club's coach, a retired player, leaned forward, eyes wide. "That's not amateur technique," he muttered. "That man was trained." Victoria gritted her teeth. Her pride burned, but something else flickered too, curiosity. Every shot Ethan returned carried humility, not arrogance. He wasn't trying to humiliate her. He was simply playing beautifully. "You're not bad," she said between breaths, trying to hide her exhaustion. Ethan smiled faintly. "You too," he replied. His words were kind, but there was a melancholy in them, a quiet sadness that seemed to say he'd once been where she was, at the top, and lost it all. The rally grew fierce. Balls flew back and forth with blistering speed, each shot a test of will. The crowd was silent now, caught in the rhythm of two souls fighting not for victory but for something deeper. Finally, match point. Victoria served hard, aiming for the corner, but Ethan moved before she even swung. His body flowed like a memory. He returned the shot with a backhand so clean, so perfectly placed that it kissed the line and died there. The ball rolled to a stop. Game over, silence. Then applause erupted, first a few claps, then a roaring wave. People stood, cheering wildly. Even Victoria, panting and stunned, broke into laughter. She tossed her racket aside and walked to him, hand extended. "All right, Janitor," she said between breaths. "You won. Now tell me, who the hell are you?" Ethan hesitated. "Nobody special," he said quietly. "Just someone who used to love this game." But her eyes narrowed. "No," she said. "That's not the truth." Later, inside the club lounge, the truth came out. Years ago, Ethan Cole had been a rising tennis star, a national champion with dreams of the professional circuit. But when his wife fell gravely ill, he gave up everything. His sponsors, his career, his home, to pay for her treatment. When she passed away, he never picked up a racket again. To survive, he took cleaning jobs, ending up at Brightstone. "I didn't quit the game," he said softly. "I just stopped needing to win." Victoria listened silently, her earlier arrogance melting into shame and admiration. For the first time, she saw not a janitor, but a man of depth, sacrifice, and quiet dignity. "You could have had everything," she whispered. Ethan shook his head. "I did," he said. "For a while." Days turned into weeks, and the story of the janitor who beat the CEO spread like wildfire. Employees spoke about it in awe. Investors shared it as a lesson in humility. But something else happened too. Victoria began seeking him out. She'd find him after hours, asking for lessons, laughing when she missed a shot. Slowly, the ice around her heart began to melt. Ethan taught her not just how to play, but how to feel. How to lose gracefully, how to listen, how to connect. And in return, she taught him how to dream again. Months later, another charity tournament arrived. This time, Ethan stood beside Victoria, not as her opponent, but as her partner in a doubles match for children's education. Together, they dominated the court, their teamwork effortless. When they won, Victoria turned to the crowd, microphone in hand. "A few months ago," she said, smiling, "I told someone that if he beat me, I'd marry him. He did, and I lost more than a match. I lost my pride, but I found something much better." She turned to Ethan, her voice trembling. "I found someone who reminded me what grace, heart, and humility look like." The crowd cheered, laughter mixing with tears. Ethan stood frozen, surprised, but when she reached out her hand this time, he didn't hesitate. He took it, smiling softly as the crowd roared around them. No one knew what happened after that moment. But those who were there said they'd never forget the sight of the janitor and the CEO, walking off the court hand in hand, equals in every sense of the word. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps us bring more inspiring stories to life, and remind the world that true worth isn't found in titles, but in spirit. And before we close, comment below. What hidden talent or passion do you carry quietly inside, waiting for the right moment to shine? Because sometimes the world doesn't need another winner. It needs someone brave enough to play for love.